Amaranth is a world in recovery. Only a century ago, the people of Amaranth were starved of the magics of the divine. They could only remember in stories and songs how the gods once held sway in their world. It was a distant memory now, and only those few who could boast an age truly ancient were able to recall what it once was like to feel the warmth of their presence. In the centuries since their silence, the folk of Amaranth learned to rely on their own ingenuity and secular harnessing of the arcane to prosper, even thrive. But the time of the silence came with its own particular strife. The vacuum of power left by the gods beckoned enticingly to those ambitious enough to fill it. Necromancy. The twisting of the weave, magic's very essence, had run rampant for a millennia. With no holy hands to stop them, that of the divine or their mortal instruments, those wicked enough to employ such means took what they wanted, and they took it by force. For hundreds of years, the War of the Dead was waged on all fronts. It was a veritable coup of the highest authority, staged by a powerful group of necromantic wizards who called themselves the Followers of the Star. Amaranth was in strife as all the world's nations fought together to defeat the threat of undeath. And they were losing. When nearly all hope was lost, and many in the world believed there would never be an end, or rather the only end would be at the teeth and claws of howling ghouls and wights, finally it happened. The fall. A great asteroid fell into the crystal ocean, and with it the gods returned, as if the massive rock that ripped through the sky shattered the seal that long since held back the divine. A swell of radiance washed over the land. The gods purged the land of the walking dead, tearing asunder vast armies of the unholiest kind. Whatever foul magic strung together the bones and muscle and sinew of these creatures was destroyed, and the lost souls finally found peace in the patient and guiding hands of Croesus. With the return of the gods, the practice of divine magic saw a resurgence that had not been felt since ancient times, long before the silence. Paladins and clerics of all faiths began to emerge, stronger than ever before. While the retribution of the gods was swift against their unholy counterparts and their wicked instruments, their blight on the Amaranth would not be banished so easily. All manner of foul creatures, stinking of death and decay, wander aimlessly as they seek the spark they so sorely lack. The War of the Dead may be over, but remnants of that black stain of history still come shrieking and clawing from the shadows, ripping travelers from roadsides and tearing through small towns in their eternal hunger for life. Now, just over 100 years later, as Amaranth and its people continue to heal, peace, it seems, is never meant to last for long. A cold war brews beneath the naval country of Trident and the Arcanatech nation of Ceres, and the world watches with bated breath as new threats arise. But this story does not concern itself with such massive troubles. At least, not yet. In a world filled with stories, Amaranth always has unique ones to tell, and this one begins with a young woman with a unique appearance as she stands outside the front doors of the Merigard Academy. The place has been your home for the past few weeks, as Tabernac did his best to teach you to read, write, speak, and understand the common knowledge people might have around here. The cover story he had provided you was simply that you were a small-town girl from Terracona, hailing from the outskirts of the mountains, and come to learn everything that you could. Intent to expand on your abilities in sorcery, the Merigard Academy was the best you'd heard of, so you gathered your coin and came here. Tabernac insisted your identity as a dragon was extremely important to keep a secret, but that you could claim amnesia should anybody pry too hard. It may have been difficult for you to understand the word, but in the end, he felt you could handle it. So, Irolahne, what do you do?
Hmm. He he's standing in front of the door, mentally preparing herself. Okay, okay, I can do this. And she remembers when she first knocked on the door several weeks ago that Perth had made a comment that she was the first one to knock. She was not going to make that mistake again. She was just going to walk right through the door as if she had done this once already. And as she does, she is going to take in all of the sights that she didn't get to before.
Roll me perception. Go ahead.
Party. There we go. 13 plus, so it's a 17.
17. The front hall of the Merigard Academy is a massive foyer lined with mahogany and dark brown woods of other kinds that you're not familiar with. There is a broad desk across the room from you that seats Persh, the dwarven concierge, who is busy writing at parchment, but he does glance up at you as you enter. He doesn't say anything as his attention returns to his parchment, perhaps waiting to see what you'll do. As you look around the room, you see that the walls are lined with portraits, each of them showing a different figure. I can't say humanoid, as Tabernac's portrait is there as well, and it is clearly that of the brass dragon that you know. The other portraits all do appear to be humanoid, however. And with a 17, one of the ones that stands out to you is that of a massive Goliath figure with a battle axe slung over his shoulder. He has ornate tattoos of graying color on his pale skin, and he has a very confident smirk on his face. You see that below it says, Irolahne of the Mountain, fighter instructor.
Hmm. Would I would she have been acquainted uh with the teachers? Not like that's not the word I'm looking for. Would Tabernac have informed her of all the teachers of the school?
Yeah, he would have given you a brief summary of them.
She wants to take a look at the sorceress's portrait.
Easy enough to find. The sorceress picture shows a woman who appears to be an elf with a stern but feminine face with maybe softer features, but a strict look in her eyes. She has auburn hair, and it says Emilla Dorn, sorcery instructor.
She kind of takes in the image of this woman as he knows that that is supposed to be her teacher. But with little time to really process everything, she doesn't want to let the awkward air of her standing in this foyer uh, linger too long, so she steps up to Persh and says hello.
Hello? One moment, please. And you see
Okay.
he's dealing with this parchment, and it's a maybe 10 seconds as he finishes scribbling something down, sets the quill down and looks at you and says, Welcome to the Marigold Academy. How can I help you?
I'm here to enroll.
Right. And he pulls up a ledger and he sets it down on the desk in front of you and he opens it and he says, Go ahead and write your name, where you're from, right here. And he holds out a quill to you.
Uh, uh, she's gonna panic for a moment, uh, because she doesn't know the name of the town that she was supposed to hail from. So she's just gonna write Terracona Mountains.
Okay.
Um, but she's also going to try and read the last person who joined or who enrolled.
It's weird. So as you're looking at the book, it's as though the letters are avoiding your focus. You just read the signs on the wall. You understand how to read common. You recognize that the language it's written in is common, but you can't tell what it actually says. There's something magical happening here.
She rubs her eyes. Is there something wrong with this paper? It's all blurry. I can't read it.
Percy looks up at you and he says, "That is for the protection of the other visitors to the Marigord Academy."
Oh, did you do that?
Yes.
That's really cool. She'll finish signing her name and push the book back towards him.
He closes the ledger, sets it back on the desk, and he says, "Right. To my right, you'll see, or I'm sorry, to your right, there'll be a door marked selections. Go on in. Go ahead and choose your course of study."
Do I pay now or later?
You'll pay in the selections room to Maxwell. He'll be waiting for you.
Okay, all right. She'll proceed on.
Okay. To the, as he described, you head to your right, and there is a door marked selections. It seems like a fairly simple door, and it is a plain wooden placard with brass lettering. You go in, and what you see immediately across from you is a table that is absolutely laden with equipment. Any course of study could possibly be taken here, and it seems as though every section of the table that is defined by course of study has a pile of equipment that one might use for those courses. And for the sorcerers, you see it's toward the far end of the table. You see there is a large pack. There is a fine, it looks like maybe velvet or silk, robe or cloak. Nestled next to that is a quarterstaff, and then a various pile of implements that look like there's crystals or gemstones that are set into rods and wooden sticks and branches almost. Some of them look more natural than others, but all of them seem as though they almost glow or vibrate when your hands get near them.
Just gonna make a beeline straight for that side of the table.
Okay.
She's gonna take a quick look around the room though.
Okay, roll me a perception check.
Okay. Why does that keep... 9. Where's that 6?
That's 10. You roll a 10. So you roll the natural 6.
Okay.
Looking around the room, you see that the door closed behind you. There is a dark corner of the room by the door that looks like it's hidden by the door as it opens. And when you turn to look, you see that a human man, almost as if appearing in your vision, sets a foot down that was rested on a pedestal, and he says, "Well, aren't you a unique one?" And he leans forward. You recognize from the portraits outside the rogue instructor, Maxwell White. He leans forward and kind of puts his elbows on his knees, and he says, "I see you're here to be a sorcerer then."
You must be Maxwell.
"I?"
Yes, yeah, that's my goal.
"Well, if you're sure about your choice, go ahead and collect your equipment there, because that's yours, and then you can pay your tuition to me."
Okay. She'll gather up her stuff. She's just gonna hold it because she doesn't quite know where to like place it on herself at the moment, and then she's gonna fumble for her coin pouch that
Okay.
Tabernacle will have gotten her, and she will pull out vaguely what she remembers to be the right amount of coin for this.
Maxwell takes the coin from you, and he kind of sifts through it, closes up the
There might be
pouch, and
like 1 or 2 extra pieces of gold in there.
if there is, Maxwell would kind of separate them out and hand them back to you. And then he will say, "Right, everything seems in order. I just need you to sign your name in this ledger, and then your course of study as you've chosen." And he hands a book toward you.
Okay. She places her stuff down, and she'll start signing where she needs to sign and writing that she is a now sorcerer, or at least learning to be.
Mm-hmm.
And she'll pick her stuff back up, and she's like, okay, where do I go now?
Right. He kind of sets the ledger back on the pedestal, and he says, I will be leading you, well, I'll be showing you around, and then I'll be taking you to the sorcery classroom, where you'll meet your instructor, and likely anybody else that happens to be in the class at this time. I'm not really certain how sorcery does it, but many of the classes send their students out on tasks around the town. But Amila kind of keeps her methods a secret from the likes of me. She doesn't like me very much, you see. Anyway, you'll
Oh,
meet
you seem like a likable person.
I like you already. Uh,
Yeah.
After you meet your instructor, I'll be uh, I'll be the one to show you to your dormitory.
Okay. Um,
You ready to get to it?
yes, absolutely.
All right, follow me. And Maxwell leads the way out of the room.
All right, she'll follow, not too closely.
He points to the left and he says, This here's the main hall. You would have already met Persh. He is our concierge, but also he's the manager of any tasks you will be assigned. So you want to be on his good side if you want to handle people that you like, or at least that you think you'll get along with. He also, should you become a contractor, will be the one handling your pay. So be
Okay.
nice to Persh. Behind him and behind that wall, you'll see is the main hall where you can collect food. Meals are served at 6 in the morning, 12 in the afternoon, 6 in the evening. There is always food available throughout if you're hungry, but that's when proper meals are served by the golems.
She's quietly trying to deduce what time everything would be. Uh, to her, it's day or it's night.
Yep.
So,
I don't think Maxwell pays any attention to that as he continues on and says,
okay.
Right, the far side, that's where the martial courses tend to be, but we're going this way. And he turns and heads to the right.
Right.
As you're heading down the hallway, following Maxwell, you notice you haven't been really aware of things for very long. But what does strike you odd is that each of these doors are extremely close to each other. And even with just your rudimentary understanding of things, these doors, there's no way there's a whole room behind them at first glance. Or they would all just be doors leading to the same room. And it confuses you.
Uh, are are they all sharing one room?
Maxwell glances back at her and says, Oh, no, it's right. And he steps to the side and he opens one of the doors. And you see this door opens up into an impossibly large sanctuary of a meadow with beautiful flowing waterfalls, pink, almost fey-like trees, and mountains that reach up into the sky. And he says, It's magic. Really.
That is so amazing. Can I see the other ones?
Uh, Maybe after you meet your instructor. We want to get that over with, first and foremost.
Oh, okay. I guess that's fair.
Right. Besides, if Foley's around, he'll try and talk to you about, well, drugs. And he closes the door.
What's drugs?
Right. Well, I don't. Things must be nice and quiet where you're from. And he leads the way down the hall.
It's it's a small town.
Right. I do hear that quite a bit. Lots of folks heading here from all over the place. Anyway, and as he leads the way, he stops in front of a door that is. It's a metal door, but it is handsomely made. It looks as though it is iron that has been wrought with brass feathers and leaves that run along the outside of it. And he says, "This will be Amelia Dawn's classroom. So, go on in, say hello. I'll be here waiting for you."
Okay, is there anything I should expect other than teacher?
Maxwell thinks about it for a moment and he says, "No,
Okay. All
this
right.
isn't such an extravagant room as far as I know. It's more of a library, the sort of thing, so..."
Oh, I'm well accustomed to libraries.
"Right. Well, then you'll fit right in." And
All right.
he gestures for you to go in the door.
She goes in rather nervously, but she goes in nonetheless.
Okay. The sorcery classroom is, much as stated, a library. A large open circle of a room. There isn't very many places to sit in here. There are tall bookshelves that line the walls, and each one is stuffed to the brim with books, scrolls, jars, vessels of all sorts of things. Looks like even skulls in some places. It is a strange room, and it smells of oil, and you think that's maybe incense? You're not sure what that smell is, but it's unusual. And as you're looking into the room, you see that there are many sorcery students in here. They don't seem to look up as you enter. The room is fairly quiet, except once you have stepped into the room, the tall, auburn-haired woman toward the front of the room, who you recognize as Amelia Dorn, looks to you and says, "Ah, hello. Would you happen to be a new student?"
How many people are in here again?
"About 6.
Oh God. Okay. Uh, her tail kind of curls around her nervously, and her fins flex back. Yes, I am. I am a new student here at the academy.
"Perfect. Come here." And she gestures for you to approach. And as you do, she turns to the rest, basically the 5 students that are looking up now that you've entered. You see one with blue skin and white hair who is looking at you, and she has a huge smile on her face, and she looks... Well, what's your passive insight?
Let's see, my passive insight. Where would that be on here? It's still
So next to
hard
your insight is just in a little light gray color. If you're looking on Foundry.
I am
Yeah, so if you
4,
open up your character sheet.
14? 14.
Okay. With a 14, this woman is looking excited as she sees you. Like, she looks like she wants to just blurt something out, but she's restraining herself.
Mm-hmm.
The instructor is patiently waiting for you to approach, and as you do, she says, "You have a very unusual appearance to you."
Would you like me to describe her for the viewers?
Yeah, this is a good moment to do that. What does Irolahne look like in her current form?
Kind of, she definitely right now looks like she's trying to hide inside herself, but she appears as a porcelain-skinned woman with thigh-length white hair that sparkles like freshly fallen snow in the sun. However, there are splashes of her draconic form all throughout her body. Her face is dotted with scales, and her ears are gossamer fins familiar to her true shape. Her legs are digitigrade. For those who don't know, that's more animal-like. All digits end in sharp talons, and lastly, a shimmering finned tail coils anxiously around her legs. Her hands also hold the same appearance, with sharp claws at the very tips.
Okay. the instructor looks to the rest of the students and says, "Go about your studies." And then all of them seem to just like as if they were waiting for something, like the rest of a conversation before you entered. They all look suddenly confused, but they do what she says. And she looks at you and she says, "How exceptional. What's your name?"
My name is Irolahne.
Irolahne. It is a pleasure to meet you. I am Amila Dawn. You may simply call me Amila.
It's a pleasure to meet you, Miss Amila.
She looks at you, and she kind of takes in the appearance that you've basically been outfitted by Tabernac.
Yeah.
Which, in this case, you look not like a peasant, but you look as though you've been traveling. And you have the equipment that the Marigard supplied you, but you have not equipped it yet. And so Amila is looking at the pile, like the pack and the arcane focus and the rod and the quarterstaff and all those things that you're carrying with you. And she says, "Did you feel uncomfortable getting prepared in front of Maxwell?"
Yeah.
Well,
I don't know him.
this is fair. I don't mind if you wait until you return to your dormitory. I would like to get to know who you are first, before anything else.
Sure, I guess I'm an open book.
Perfect. And she gestures, and from across the room, which you didn't notice before, an overstuffed recliner suddenly just up behind you. And then another one slides up behind Amila, and she sits down, and she gestures for you to sit as well.
She'll have to awkwardly maneuver her tail over one of the arms of the recliner.
Sure.
And sit down, and she kind of holds it in her lap along with the rest of her stuff.
With a small smile, Amila nods to you, and then she looks at the students, and she says, "Oh, this might be a little awkward." And she holds her hand up, and you see that she twists a ring on her finger. And then curtains just down from the ceiling, and you are suddenly isolated from the students. It is as if you are just in an office, almost, with Amila and no one else.
Looks around a little flabbergasted, like, what? What just happened?
Just telekinesis, darling.
Okay.
It's a simple trick that you might, one day, learn to use. I'd be happy to teach you. But first, as a sorcerer, you come with some power invested in you already. Yes, you have the ability to create magic by accident, on purpose, by thinking about it.
Yeah, I'd say so. Definitely.
Why don't you show me something? Mechanically, she's asking for like a cantrip.
Yes. She's going to cast light, and a little ball of light is going to lift from her palm. And as she does so, all membrane bits of her body, so her ears and her tail, start to lightly glow a little bit. Along with the light.
You would see Amila's lips quirk in a curious smile, and she says, "How unusual. I suppose it's no wonder. Are you, perhaps, aware of your heritage?"
I actually, I was raised, by parents that didn't belong to me. I have amnesia.
That's fair. It will just simply mean that we'll discover it together, which is always fascinating. But I am pleased to see you have a grasp of the fundamentals. The first magical tricks we can do are often the ones that stick with us for the rest of our lives. You're off to a good start. What do you want out of the Marigod Academy? Why are you here? Just to grow in power, or is it something else?
Well, I guess power is a good one, but um, I think more find purpose.
Hmm. Well, let me explain how the Marigod Academy works. You will be training with me for a year. In 1 year, I will teach you everything that I can, anything that you are willing to soak up, and at the end of which, I will administer you an exam. Should you succeed in the exam, you qualify to be hired as a contractor with the Marigod Academy, which is how they say, where you make the big bucks. While our compensation is worthwhile. But I think the real value here is the opportunities to see the whole world, as our missions do not stay here in Ferrum. They go everywhere.
What do you mean by like back to Terracona, even?
Back to Terracona, across the ocean to Ceres, into the other planes. Anywhere. Anywhere that our clients need our assistance.
Okay. I understand. Yes. I am a little confused on what you mean by bucks. What do
Sorry,
deer
it's
have to do with this?
nothing. It is an old saying, simply that we pay our contractors well.
Oh, okay, I understand now.
I apologize for this silly nomenclature.
I yeah, I don't get very many literal terms, I see.
No worries. So, do you have any burning questions for me before we continue with this little interview?
Um, how how long is a year?
365 days. 365 sunsets. 365 sunrises.
It's a lot. Yeah, I think I can learn a lot in that time.
You certainly can if I do my best.
And I think that's all the questions I have for now.
Good. As you study and you perform your duties here at the Marigod Academy, for this first year, your tuition paid for your food, your equipment, your supplies, and also protection. Anytime you perform a task, which we call a free agency, if you perform a job for us while you are a student, you won't be paid, but also we'll be keeping a close eye to make sure that nothing too terrible happens to you while you're performing these jobs. We do keep it in our best interest to maintain the well-being of our students before they are finished with their studies, as it were. And sometimes a free agency is more difficult than we think it would be. And as a sorcerer, your ability to adapt to a difficult situation is going to be extremely important.
Define a difficult situation.
Have you ever been in a fight?
Not, no.
Okay. Well, a difficult situation might mean that somebody or something desires to end you, and you must defend yourself from that thing.
He looks a little taken aback, but nods.
As a contractor, our teams deal with difficult situations every day. Well, maybe not every day. It depends on the team. Really, where your skills lie is where Persh will assign you, depending on what it is you're best at and what you're worst at. For example, if you are the best at investigating things and finding secrets, it is not likely you'll be sent to the front lines in Ceres to fight the undead.
she doesn't know what an undead is, so she looks a little confused, like she's interested in learning more about that.
Okay. I think. Let me roll an insight check for Amilla. I'm rolling an insight check for Amilla. One moment.
All right.
She looks at you and she says, "Ah, this amnesia really has struck pretty hard, hasn't it?"
Yeah, I don't remember a lot. It's a miracle I can even remember my own name.
That's fair. Well, right now, the country of Ceres, the large continent, and she points at a map that's on the wall, and you see that she's pointing at this large blob, and she says, is dealing with undead. Creatures that were once people or animals that have been brought back through evil magic to do the bidding of terrible people, usually.
Hmm. How can you tell the difference between our magic and theirs?
Well, what do you know of resurrection, if anything?
Nothing.
If, for example, Kana, the young Air Genasi woman that took a shine to you the instant you stepped into my room, if she were to suddenly fall over dead, if we were to resurrect her, she would be back to as she was, in good health, as if it didn't happen. Now, if it was necromancy that did it, if she was to become an undead, if someone raised her that way, she would no longer be herself. Her mind would be destroyed. All that would be there would be a magical puppet that would attempt to attack you or any other living thing in the room.
This seems to send chills down Irolahne's spine, and she nods. Yes, that definitely has a different kind of shine to it, doesn't it?
It really does. And when you're exposed to it, you don't mistake the two. I've been alive for a very long time. I've dealt with undead for most of my life. You grow desensitized to it, and so I apologize if my crass example may have bothered you.
We all have ways of dealing with things like that.
Eloquently put. So, my next question to you. Do you consider yourself the sort who would explore something they don't understand, or find the answer to it somewhere else, from someone else, by asking questions?
Is both a good option?
You do have to pick one or the other.
Oh. Well, I'm definitely curious enough to find out on my own. But the first option?
So you'd explore it yourself?
Yeah.
Good to know. The next question I have for you is a bit more simple. If I were to suddenly strike out at you, would you try to fight back, or would you try to run?
Well, to be fair, Miss Amilla, I don't think I'd stand much of a chance. So
That doesn't matter. Darling, it doesn't matter at all.
I would probably try to fight back if I had no chance of running.
But you do have a chance to run, is the question.
Okay.
There's always the chance to run.
I still would fight.
Good. Lastly, when you first stepped into this room, and you took in the sight of all my students, I noticed that you recoiled a little. Now, is that because you're not comfortable being around people? Or is it because you're afraid of what they think?
Well, I'd only really be afraid of what they'd think if I could read their thought. So that's kind of personal, if you think about it. Um, I just haven't been around much people.
Fair enough. One of the most important parts of being a sorcerer is your presence of mind, your personality, how you inflict your will over your own thoughts, and how honest you are with yourself. It doesn't really matter how honest you are with other people, but if you lie to yourself and deceive yourself, your magic will wane. You will not be as powerful as someone who accepted themselves for what they are.
Out of character, that's deep. Um, uh, well, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I do have a lot of accepting to do.
Everybody does. And that's why you are here at the beginning. So, the rest of the evening, once Maxwell, I'm sure, is waiting outside, has shown you to your dormitory, the rest of the evening is yours. You are welcome to return here and maybe get accustomed to the grounds of my classroom. It is much larger than it appears. Or you can explore the town of Ferrum, see what is where and who knows what. Or, really, the choice is yours. However, I expect you to be here at 7 in the morning tomorrow.
This is gonna sound really awkward. How do you tell when it's 7?
There is a clock in your dormitory.
Okay. I
Do you know
imagine
how to
Tabernacle would
read?
have taught her.
Well, she asks, "Do you know how to read a clock?"
Ooh,
Roll a
depends
D100.
on. Okay. Like, I don't know. Did he teach me how to read a clock? That is a 22.
That slipped his mind.
Okay. Unfortunately, no. I spent a lot of time on the road, and we didn't have many clocks where I come from.
That's fair. It's a fairly new invention, uh, but it's simple enough. And she turns, and from a desk, she picks up what looks like a small brass contraption. And she holds it up to you, and she just basically gives you a quick rundown of what it looks like when it's 7 in the morning. And she gives you basically a quick, like, this is how you read it.
This looks like a sundial or an actual clock.
It looks like an actual clock.
Okay. Well, she takes that in, and she'll definitely keep that in her little pocket of mind.
Sure. Like, you understand what numbers look like, so
Mm-hmm.
you probably...
Yes, he taught me how to read numbers, but he didn't tell me how to read a clock.
Yeah. So you probably understand the hours. It's probably the minutes that are going to be confusing.
Yes. All right. Okay, I looking at it now, I think I can do that. Yes, definitely.
Perfect. And she twists the ring on her finger again, and the curtains are vanished up into the ceiling. And you see that some of the students are what looks like they're concentrating with arcane focuses in their hands. It looks like there maybe are sparring, or there's definitely a contest going on between two of them. And the other students are quietly talking to each other. And the one that she pointed out to you, the blue woman, Irolahne, as she described her, is standing next to one of the ones in the contest, and she looks over at you, and with the brief sense of eye contact, she smiles and waves at you.
Irolahne will kind of smile and wave back. But she doesn't quite have the same energy about it.
Sure, most don't, so that's fair. But what do you do? As Emilla stands and she kind of sends her chair back against the wall.
Irolahne will get up and she'll thank Emilla. Thank you for welcoming me to your classroom.
You are always welcome here.
I guess I have to go speak with Maxwell now.
Yep.
And she'll head out. But not before trying to like take a little peek at what they're doing. Like, what are they trying to compete? What are they?
Roll me a perception check.
That is a
That's
5
a
for
9.
a 9.
Yeah, that's a 9.
I have no idea. I have no
There
idea.
is. It looks like a contest of will. It looks like the two that are in the contest are struggling. And you see that one of them like suddenly winces, and a couple of the people around them just just chuckle at the seeming failure. You don't understand what's happening here.
Yeah, it's confusing to her. And she'll move on. She
Okay.
doesn't feel comfortable talking to them
Okay.
yet.
You move on.
So as she exits the door, where is Maxwell?
Okay. As you step out into the hallway once more, Maxwell stands. He's leaning against the wall, and he has a book open in his hand. And as you step out, he just closes the book and says, "Right, how'd it go?"
I'd say pretty well. For first time out of school ever.
Good. Right. So, your dorm is just down the hall right here. He leads the way, just like it's maybe 20 feet. There's this archway in the hallway, and immediately next to it is a simple wooden door that he opens, and it leads into a hall that leads into a round room that has 5 doors. And he says, "Well, the sorcery class is pretty popular right now. You're gonna have a roommate, and for that I apologize."
Um, okay. I didn't. What do you mean?
Well, uh, right now the sorcery class has 5 students, and you're the 6th. There are 5 bedrooms. Each room has about 3 beds in them. No matter which one of these you choose, you're gonna have a roommate. So, I
Well,
guess it's pick your poison, really.
well, I guess I'll just pick a room, and she'll pick one at random.
Roll me a d6.
4.
Okay. You choose the room, the 4th door, basically from the left. So it's like in this round room, it's the door that's not opposite you, but to the right by one. And as you head up to that door, you see that the door is locked, but Maxwell hands you a brass key, and he says, "This key will open this door, and then once you choose a bed, it will open that footlocker."
Gotcha. All right. Go ahead.
So he hands you the key.
Takes it. Thank you. Um, how, I guess their stuff will be all around it, but is, should, how do I know if it's already taken?
You'll know.
Okay.
Don't worry. Just go ahead on in and you'll see what I'm talking about.
All right. Thank you for showing me around,
No problem.
and she'll go in.
Okay. The room is similarly round as the room you just left. There is a large pillar it's pretty thick in diameter that divides the room straight up the middle. To your left, a bed is covered in clothes. There is a closed footlocker at the foot of that bed, and the bed itself is made, but it's clear someone was in a hurry as they got dressed and left many supplies and clothing all over the floor and on the side of the bed that's immediately to your left. There is another bed directly opposite you, and then there is another bed directly to your right. These 2 beds have open footlockers at their feet. They seem to be unoccupied.
Okay. Are any of those beds pushable, by the way? Like, so she can maybe move them away from the others.
Um, they're wooden beds set on stone, so
Okay.
you
No,
you
she's not
could
strong enough
try.
for that. No, it would be pointless. All right, well, she'll pick again at random just a bed because they
Okay.
all look the same to her.
Roll me a d2.
One.
You choose the middle bed. Uh,
Oh, goody.
yep, you chose the bed directly opposite the door. Um,
Actually,
the bed is pretty comfortable. It is soft cotton with smooth linens. There is an enormous footlocker. It's big enough that you could lay down your quarterstaff inside it. It is sizable. And next to the bed is a dresser. You didn't see the dresser next to the first bed as it was covered in clothes, but this one is clearly empty and ready for you to fill with your things.
she doesn't quite know how dressers work and what you put in them specifically, but so she just she kind of ignores that and just stuffs all her stuff in the footlocker.
Okay.
Because that just seems more reasonable, right? Um,
Roll me a perception check.
okay. The 12.
12. As you're in the room and you're putting all your things into the footlocker, it smells clean in here. It smells of pine and fresh air, almost as if it was wintry air coming in. Even though it is late autumn, it is pleasant. And the window that's right next to your bed is frosted glass, but when you try to look out it, it's almost as though it's not frosted at all. You can see clearly out into the courtyard that's to the side of the Marigard Academy. It is a beautiful afternoon, and as you are looking around the room, you notice that the bed that's occupied, there are a number of, nestled behind the mess of clothes and nonsense, there's a number of picture frames that have been set up on the dresser next to the bed. Based on this example, you don't think a dresser is for clothes at all, because clearly they're not in their dresser.
Right. Um, well, she was given clothes, right?
Yeah, you have a few changes of clothes.
And she makes sure there's nobody else in the room.
Mm-hmm.
She will try to figure out how to put on uh that are new.
Go ahead and roll an intelligence check. DC's 5.
Okay, good.
21. Yeah, it's simple enough.
I have no problem. Yeah.
It
Yeah.
you intuit how the clothing can fit onto you. You sort out the way the laces and the buckles and the buttons work. You get yourself dressed in your new Marigard's recruit uniform. It is comfortable. The clothes sit comfortably and lightweight on you. There is no limitation to your movement. Now, the Marigard clothes seem to be embroidered with this black, gold, and red paisley. That's not all over the place. It's only on like the seams and the ends of the sleeves, but it's a small touch that makes it clear you're with the Marigard now.
She kind of just sits back on her bed and takes it all in for a moment. Um, and she'll pull out her quarterstaff and take a look at it and
Okay.
see if there's anything about it that seems interesting other than, normal mundane quarterstaff.
It is a length of hardened ash. It is about as tall as you are. It easily fits into your hands. It feels as though it was well hewn. But you do notice that the ends of the quarterstaff are slightly thicker than the middle. And it feels as though if you were to swing it and give something a good whack with it, it would have a serious amount of force behind it. You also notice, as you're looking close at it, that near the ends of the quarterstaff, there are small, it looks like lettering. What languages do you speak?
Draconic and Gith.
On one end of the staff, you see that there is Draconic inscribed into the quarterstaff. And they are the letters in Draconic that mean fire, cold, thunder, lightning, acid, poison.
Oh, she doesn't quite like she knows what they mean, but she doesn't know what they're for.
Yeah. The other end of the
Uh,
staff has other lettering that you don't recognize, and they are in much more ornate, uh, almost scroll like language that you just don't know what they say.
okay. Uh, how would she put this on her? Does she just carry it around?
So they're usually it is assumed you sling it over your back.
Yeah.
Um,
Um,
that's
sh- she's gonna have to figure out how a backpack and now a sling works, or however, a pack.
the quarterstaff would have a leather strap that the
Okay.
quarterstaff fits with.
All right, that's pretty self-explanatory.
Yeah.
Well, I guess since she's just kind of sitting here now, she's gonna go walk the school.
You walk the school. Okay. The Marigard Academy is big. As you begin to walk around it, exploring the halls, you get the feeling that the Marigard Academy is laid out in a large U. The right hand wing, aka the north wing, and the left hand wing, aka the south wing, based on the way the school is founded on the edge of the city of Ferrum. Um, the north wing seems to be mostly the magic courses: sorcery, wizardry, druid. Um, those sorts of courses all seem to be aligned within the northern wing, and the southern wing has the fighter's course, the barbarian, etc. As you are exploring, you see that some doors are labeled, some doors are not, some doors seem to move, some doors don't open to anything. Like, you look at the door, and it looks like a curious door, and you just turn the knob and look inside, and there's just a stone wall behind it. Maybe it's a room that hasn't been set up yet. Maybe it's a joke. Maybe it's a fake. You don't know what it is. It's confusing and peculiar. And as you're walking the halls of the Marigard Academy, there are other individuals who are walking the halls as well, whether it seems like they're going places or maybe they're just going for a walk, as the school is big enough that you could do so.
Um, she's definitely gonna want to peek at those other classrooms. She wants to see what they all look like on the inside.
Roll me an investigation check.
All right. Oof, not a big one for me. That is a 12.
A 12. Okay. One moment. As you are marching your way up and down the halls, and you poke through different doors to see what they are, or rather what class they are entitled to. Hold on a second here, as I didn't expect to have to pull up. Hold on a second here. One moment. Okay. With a 12, the first door you open. Oh, I messed it up. I'm sorry.
Oh, good.
I super messed it up.
I'm not looking.
Well, I mean, you can look. It's just. You open what looks like a massive music room. And inside it, you see there is a woman, a gnoll, and another woman. The first woman, who's wearing red and has a large instrument with 3 strings on it, looks at you and she says, "Oh, hello there. Well, you are a specimen, aren't you?" And she, steps forward and says, "Are you here to be a bard? Are you my new bard student?"
Uh, Irolahne looks surprised because even though she knows that there's most likely people in here, she was not expecting to be so immediately addressed. Um, uh, I'm just exploring the grounds.
Oh.
I'm a sorcery student.
Oh, you have the face for it. That's fine. That's fine. You're welcome to explore anywhere you like. And you see that she is visibly fighting off disappointment. But she, like, strides back to the far side of the room, and she says, Norre, where were we? And you see that this other woman who's wearing lots of heavy furs and has several swords hanging from her belt and a flute in her hand, she says, right, sorry. And she resumes playing the flute. And you are, after that point, ignored, unless you ask a question or say something.
Gonna look at the instruments around. I mean, since she's not being paid any mind, she's going to look at all the instruments that are not being used.
There are several drums, there's a piano, there's an organ in the far side of the room, there's a lute, there's a massive harp. There are various other instruments that you don't know the names of. Some of them seem to be played via blowing into a reed, and some of them have various strings that one of them looks like it has a strange contraption with a crank with strings across it. It is bizarre, but small enough it looks like it could fit into your bag, even. There are all sorts of instruments in here. Do you fiddle with any of them?
Yeah, she's gonna drum the harp a little bit, and...
Are you proficient in harp?
No.
Okay.
No.
So there's kind of this dissonant, just as you strum too many strings at once in the harp, just... And the instructor looks up and says, please, if you're going to experiment, just be careful.
Sorry.
No, it's fine. It's fine.
Where's the nearest violin? Or viol, as it would be called.
There's a few. There's one nestled on the corner of the shelves that looks like it is... It almost kind of shines in the sun's light coming through the window, as it has been recently waxed.
She does have a proficiency in that, so she is going to try and at least... She's gonna try and figure out how to hold it real quick.
It's almost as though a memory unlocks. And do you remember floating, holding a viol? Didn't look like this one. The one you found was almost dark, stained ebony. This one is much lighter in your hands and much more simple. But you remember the sounds that it used to make. When it's your only performance.
Okay. The natural 20.
Dice tell a story.
They really do.
You play the viol beautifully. And it is a strange sonnet, one that almost feels otherworldly, but you're playing it from memory. A memory you didn't remember you had. The notes come out of your fingertips smoothly, and it doesn't take long before you realize, after you've been playing for a couple minutes, the room is silent as Tally, Yitran, and Nore are watching you. And when you finally stop playing, Tally says, you can't just come in and show us all up like that and not have anything to say about it.
She is gonna look shocked. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt your lesson.
That was beautiful. Don't you ever dare apologize for that sort of thing again.
I'm sorry.
What did I just say?
I'm sorry.
Tally approaches you and she like clasps the viol in your hands and she says, this is yours now. You get to deal with that consequence. And anytime you come back in here, you owe us another song.
Okay, thank you. I didn't realize I had it in me.
Well, you do.
She bows her head, and I guess she'll... Does it come with a case?
No, it's just
okay.
The viol with just the bow. And as you're turning to look around and stuff like that, you hear Tally, the instructor, turn to the knoll, Yithrin, and say, "Now, Yithrin, that is how you carry a measure. Take notes." And Yithrin says, "Right on." "Sorry, Miss Tally." And you see he's got this leer on his lap, and he's like, "Right, oh, 1, 2." And he's trying to count out the measure of the notes that he was playing, but he's off slightly.
I guess I'll get out of your hair now. Thank you for the, thank you for the gift.
You earned it. You better come back, or I'll come find you.
Yeah, I'll be sure to. And
she smiles at you as you.
She'll head out.
So that was the Bard's classroom.
Amazing.
Okay, you have a viol and bow in your hands that you did not have a moment before.
Well, this becomes kind of cumbersome for her to carry.
You can put it in your backpack.
Oh, that's right. She has that on her. I did say that. So yeah, she'll put it on her backpack. She is mindful though that it is a fragile piece of work. So she puts it in there nicely and tries to tuck it behind stuff so that if something happens, it doesn't get crushed.
Sure. As you are putting it away in your backpack, go ahead and roll me a d10.
A 2.
Okay.
Okay. Is this a don't worry about it, or?
No, it's fine.
Okay.
As you are putting it away and you're struggling with the backpack down by your feet and you're putting the viol in, you hear a male voice from next to you say, "Excuse me, do you need help? Do you need help with that? I can help you out." And you kind of glance up, and there is a tall, armored and full plate half-orc looking down at you.
She looks up and she kind of gets a little anxious. Her typical shape of having her tail curl around her. Yes, I'm still learning this pack.
Oh, no worries. You're a bard then. And he kneels down next to you and begins to assist you in stowing the viol.
Not quite. I I'm a sorcerer. I just thought I'd check out some of the other classrooms, and I guess I made a good impression with the bards of this school.
He glances down at the viol and says, They just gave this to you."
Well, I guess I played it pretty well. I didn't know I could until I tried.
The half-orc looks confused for a moment. He says, "Oh, well, well done. You must have really put on a show." And he kind of stands up after assisting putting the viol away, and he holds out a hand and he says, I'm Anscombe. I'm a fighter."
Nice to meet you. My name's Irolahne. And she she doesn't know what a handshake is, so she kind of takes his finger. I'm not formally acquainted with the gestures of this area.
"Oh, all right. It's simple enough. And he holds out his hand, and he with his other hand takes your hand and puts it in his, and then he shakes it up and down. He says, "This is a handshake. It's a respectful greeting."
How peculiar.
I've never really given it much thought, but yeah, I guess it is a little weird.
Well, I'm sorry to have interrupted whatever you were doing. I didn't mean to get in your way.
No worries. I'm heading back to class.
You said you're a fighter, right?
Yeah.
I'd like to see your classroom.
All right. Follow me.
She'll do it.
Anscombe leads you toward the fighter classroom. Hold on while I pull that scene up. These are scenes I'm not expecting to need to create on the spot. Hold on.
I'm challenging you.
Let's see how quickly I can do it without messing it up, huh?
You got this.
So far, it's not gone great, but... Hold on a minute. Okay. Make sure visions work. Choose the image. Going as quick as I can.
Take it. Don't rush it, Echo.
All right. Okay. He leads the way down the hall, past where Persh is, and then as you cross the hall, he opens up a door, and the fighter classroom is a massive dojo. It is a huge room, and there are many fighters in here. While Anscombe is well armored, not all of them are the same, as I will place Anscombe. Lilith, another fighter student. And the instructor is Irolahne. You will recognize him from the portrait, a tower of a man who is drilling other students. And as Anscombe opens up the door and leads the way in, he says, it can get a little loud in here, but, you know, so does magic, so I'm sure you're accustomed to that sort of thing.
Yeah, totally.
As he says that to you, Irolahne has turned and looks at Anscombe and says, Anscombe! No dawdling! Get back into line! And Anscombe says, right, yes, sir! And he runs across the room. And Irolahne looks at you and he says, oh! Was Anscombe escorting a new recruit to my halls?
I'm sorry, I appear to be the bearer of disappointment today, but I'm a sorcerer.
Such a waste of potential. They never...
I try not to take that personally.
They never accept the true value of tactics. And Irolahne, he begins to go into a lecture about tactics to the students who are right behind him. And you watch as all the students who seem to be grateful from the reprieve, as they were doing calisthenics and sparring, are now just standing at attention as Irolahne rants for a good couple minutes about tactics and intelligence. Other than that, this training room is enormous. It's 2 stories. You can see that there are what looks like archery dummies on the far side of the room, various heavy weights equipments, and then just a massive sparring mat. And away from Irolahne and the immediate students, you see that there are other fighter students just beating the shit out of each other.
Alright. Well, she's gonna actually try and watch.
Okay.
And because it's kind of fascinating that they are just going at it. Kind of scary, too.
Yeah. Go ahead and roll me a investigation check.
That is
7.
a 7. Yeah.
The spectacle of watching these fighter students fight each other, which, after a few minutes of the lecture, Irolahne does divide up the other students into pairs, and they start sparring as well. With a 7, you pick up that there are some patterns. You pick up that there is more behind the fighting than just brawling with each other, but you're not sure what it is that you're seeing. You stay there for maybe 15 minutes, and it is a spectacle. But that's all you get out of it, the spectacle.
What is Anscombe doing again?
He is sparring. He has been assigned to fight with another fighter, a tall, broad-shouldered human woman. and the two of them are what looks like they're not actually hitting each other with weapons. You see that they are grappling and attempting to throw each other. And Anscombe and this woman seem to be fairly evenly matched, as they've both been tossed about several times. What is going on with my music here? Okay.
As they are evenly matched, does it seem like he's winning over her?
It's not a contest. As you're watching it, every time Anscombe successfully threw her, they would stop for a moment and they would talk about it. And then she would throw him and they'd talk about it. And it looks as though they are trying to almost compare notes. It's not a contest to see who's better. They're practicing grappling techniques, basically.
Is there anything that she can pick up from this?
With a 7? No.
Okay. It's all math to her now.
Basically. You're like watching this happen, and like I think you would probably develop a sense of respect for the fact that there is way more going on than just people brawling it out, but I don't think you'd get any useful information out of it.
Right. She is gonna... Are those punching bags?
Yeah.
She's going to try and figure one of those out. She's gonna give it a push.
Okay. Roll an unarmed attack.
Okay.
So it's d20 plus your strength modifier plus proficiency.
Okay. D20. Okay. Hold on. Features.
So basically, roll a d20 and add. It's your strength bonus of 2. So add 4 to a d20. So d20.
D20. It's a 7.
Okay, so you rolled an 11 to hit the punching bag.
Yeah.
You are not the most martially practiced, and as you throw a punch at this punching bag, you misjudged just how high it was, and your knuckles just deal a glancing blow, and the punching bag just...
She kind of feels embarrassed, because after seeing them fight, she's just like, this is not quite my thing. She's hoping that nobody saw.
Oh. You turn around, and Irolahne is, like, standing there with his arms folded across his chest, and he says, "If you are going to punch something, you should swing like you mean it."
I guess it's kind of hard to swing like I mean it at an inanimate object.
I understand, but you must visualize that inanimate object has just upset your mother. It has just offended you in the worst of ways. You must punch through the target.
I don't think anyone has upset. I don't have a mother.
Right. I am not your therapist. All you have to do is swing as though you are trying to punch through the target to what is behind it. You understand, as if it has made you angry.
I'm trying to think. Oh, well, yes, she does. Okay. Irolahne's gonna think back to the time that she was kept hostage and see if she can hit it again.
Roll it with advantage. Roll me 2d20 and take the higher. A natural 20.
So the first time she misses again or some shit, and then the next one she actually...
Well, no, you have advantage.
Oh, so right. Okay.
Your next attack, you throw, and you hit this punching bag square in the center. Now, it only deals 3 damage, but it's a crit, so it deals 5 damage. But that being said, you punch the shit out of this punching bag, and it is bouncing back and forth, and it's mounting, and Irolahne says, "Very good! Yes, you pick it up quickly! You are certain you did not mean to be fighter."
Well, I mean, I guess it's always still early, right?
It certainly is. If a meal adorn turns out to be too stale and boring for you, you're welcome to come back here and train with real warriors.
I appreciate the invitation. Oh, but guess I should let you teach your class the real fighters.
Yes, they are slacking while I'm not looking. And he is looking over his shoulder. And like every student who's been sparring the whole time is basically just like shaking their heads. No. And as he marches over, he says, Lilith, I see you slacking on your toes. Get back into stats. And he's marching over toward her.
She's gonna while he's yelling at them, she's gonna slip out of the classroom.
Okay. You have left the fighter classroom and you are back into the Merryguard proper.
Well, now that she knows vaguely how to tell time, what time is it?
You kind of look around for a clock. You see one toward the main hall where Purge sits. There is a clock on the wall, and it is about 1:30 in the afternoon.
She's gonna go to Persh and she's gonna be, what time does everybody normally retire here?
Persh, without looking up, says, Every class lets out at different times. Depends as to when the instructors are finished with their lessons for the day. You can expect usually between 3 and 5.
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
Would she have time to go check the town now that she has become somewhat acquainted with human interaction?
Yeah,
Perhaps
absolutely.
maybe she can stomach a walk into the town.
Absolutely. You go out into Ferrum. Let me pull up the map.
Map.
So you exit the gates of the Merryguard Academy, and you are out onto the stretch, approaching the Merryguard and leading into Ferrum proper. The first thing you notice on this road is to your right there is a building that is marked the Merryguard. It is clearly a play on words, and even to your maybe naive sense of humor, there is maybe a bit of a joke to it that you catch. It is an attractive building that's well over 2 stories tall. Aside from that, you see that there are many other businesses on this small stretch of road. There's what looks like another building that's labeled Physicary. There is a shoe store, a cobbler that's to your left. You see that there is all sorts of little vendors and carts lining the road, people that are trying to pitch their wares to the passersby on this stretch of street.
She's gonna go check out the market.
Okay. You continue on past, going down the main stretch of Ferrum, and as you go on to that main road, I need you to roll me a D100.
Okay. 13.
Okay, hold on. 13. Yeah, there is a. Okay, so the first thing you notice is like the town is very busy. There's lots of people milling about, going backward and forth on this street. And as you are walking, you hear the sudden calls of kind of a nasally voiced man on the corner who is shouting not obscenities, but they are talking about the nefarious deeds of monsters nearby. And as you get closer, you hear he says, They're the foul heathens who would steal you from your homes! You have to be careful! And as this man is shouting out these warnings, he is being completely ignored.
Uh, well, she's curious. She's gonna go up to him.
As soon as you approach, before you can even say anything, he shoves a parchment into your hands and he says, Look! The foul fiends, they'll abscond with you too! And as you look down at the parchment, there is a warning of orc camps nearby.
Um, Surely they can't be all bad. Um, I I don't understand. Because they look similar to
To Anscombe.
Anscombe,
Yeah.
and she didn't think he was bad at all.
This individual who's shouting, it looks at you with just a look of bewilderment. And he says, "Yo, what are you, daft? They're they're a plague on modern society. They'll attack you on the roads just for happening to be there. All they ever want to do is fight and pillage and plunder."
I I disagree. One helped me just recently.
He looks very confused. Helped
Have
you
you
do what?
He helped me sort out my backpack. He didn't steal anything from me.
Where did this happen?
Points in the direction of the academy.
Oh, that's not what I'm talking about. The raiders outside the city, you lass. They're dangerous out there. I'm not talking about the civilized folk you'd find in city walls.
Okay, but you can see how this is a little confusing because there's hardly a difference in appearance.
Was this fellow a full-blown orc or one of those half-orc fellows?
Would she know?
Roll a history.
Probably not.
No,
Probably
there's
not.
Tabernacle would have probably covered the sort of people you'd run into. So,
Okay.
roll a history.
History, attributes, history. That is an
11. You don't know.
11. Uh, honestly, it's very hard for me to tell. What's the difference other than one is in town and one is not?
Okay. If they're not attacking you with swords and knives and longbows, they're likely not the sort that are raiders. And as you're talking with this man, two guards have emerged like on the sides, and they say, "Sir, you can't be spreading panic on the city streets like this." And the man with the pamphlets is saying, "But this is a real concern. They've been attacking everyone on the road." And the guard says, "You can file a complaint with the actual guard post, or you can file a task with the Merryguard Academy. Please stop just fear-mongering." And the other guard next to you says, "Really, Mum, I'm sorry about this. We always have. Not this specific individual, but the sort of people that try and shout out their problems to anyone on the street." And as he says that, "It's not just my problem. This is everyone's problem. We have to deal with this danger."
Irolahne's gonna nod like at the guard, like, okay, I'll let you deal with this one, and she's gonna move along.
Okay. The sounds of the guards arguing with the doom caller, the fearmonger, as they called him, you hear them arguing as you're walking away. And that is the random encounter you rolled. All right. So you're down on the main stretch of Farum. As you were walking, the smells of fresh baked goods, freshly cooked fish, just all sorts of simmering meats, and a huge amount of freshly made candy fills your senses as you emerge out into the Farum market. It is busy, it is packed with people, and why don't you roll me an insight check, just for like a vibe check?
Inside. No.
Natural 20.
Wow, what is with these 20s today?
There is a sense of almost celebration in the air. People seem to be happy about something. There is something going on, and the people are laughing, cheerful, conversations are upbeat. It's a positive air around here. It feels good to be out here. It feels almost as if everyone is having fun, even if they're just doing their everyday sorts of business. Despite the fear-mongering attempts of the individual at the gate, everyone seems to be in high spirits right now.
Well, her tail is going to curl, not in an anxiety way, but in like a kind of like a chameleon, as she really enjoys the smell of the cooked food and candy, was it?
Yes.
Um, and then she's gonna realize she hasn't had anything to eat this whole day.
Sure.
What is the closest baked goods or meat cart?
Roll me a d6.
One.
One moment. The closest thing to you that is a baked good, directly next to you as you are in the Ferrum Market, is... It's no wonder that you smelled it, as there is a man at what looks like it's like a rolling cart, but he is frying trolley cakes, which, at a glance, you see them, are these large, round pastries that are almost pan-fried caramel into the dough, and just looking at them, you can see custard being filled into each of them as he's sitting them out on the counter of the cart for sale. And when he sees you kind of glance over, he says, "Would you like a trolley cake, madam?"
I would love one. How much?
2 copper.
She's trying to... She's really bad with money, but something she has to learn.
Sell your box of 3 for 5.
What would I roll to be able to tell if I get them? Okay. All right. Money's gonna be a hard one. Money was hard for me. I'm gonna make it hard for her. Intelligence right there.
9.
7. 9.
Total of 9. You understand what a copper is.
Okay.
You understand that there are 10 copper to a silver.
Okay, so that would be how much for 5 of them?
For 5 cakes. He looks at you and he says, "Well, it's 3 cakes for 5 copper. But I could do you 5 for... I could do it for a silver."
Sure. Yeah. And do they come with something to carry them in? Or do I just have to juggle?
I got boxes.
Okay. And she'll pull out a silver, because why not?
Okay.
Hand it over.
You hand over a silver, and he says, "It'll be with you just a moment." And he's the sound of sizzling caramel is resounding in your ears as he fries you 5 fresh trolley cakes. And as you're standing there waiting, roll me a d4.
Okay.
Let's see if something happens.
Oh.
Or if someone of import shows up.
4.
He fries up your cakes, and you are handed a box of piping hot trolley cakes that smell sweet and delicious.
Thank you so much. These smell absolutely lovely.
You're welcome. And he
she'll take them.
Continues making trolley cakes, and you go about your day. You have a box of 5 trolley cakes.
Okay.
If you eat them, you have advantage on initiative for the next hour, because they are full of sugar.
Okay. Well, hopefully there won't be any fights happening.
Yeah.
But she is going to take them... Well, she's going to head back to the academy with these nice hotcakes.
Okay. Yeah. Each of them is fat. It's like the size of like a big honkin'... It's almost like the size of a burger, except it's like a custard-filled donut that's been fried in caramel. So it is they're significant chunks of baked good. So you have this large box of 5 of them, and as you head up to the Maryguard Academy, roll me a perception check.
Okay. Not. An 8 or a 12.
12. 1 second.
Oh no.
As you walk into the gates of the Maryguard Academy, you hear a loud and you look to the side, and there is a green dragonborn that is flat on the ground, on her back. And she's wearing, like, hide armor that looks very, almost like wild in how it's been sewn together with huge leather string. And she's, from her back, she says, "Ow!" She rolled a natural 1.
Oh, are you okay?
Yep, those smell really good. I was hoping to ask you for one.
Well, I suppose for your efforts, I don't see why not. There's 5 of them.
Hold on,
She'll...
I can't breathe.
Do you need help?
And she's like flat on her back, trying to sit up, and she seems as though all the wind has been knocked out of her, and so she's like has no strength to actually sit up with yet.
She'll offer her hand out to her.
You assist the Green Dragonborn in sitting up. And as she does, she says, "Thank you." Ow.
She'll open the box. Take your pick.
Oh, they smell even better. Okay. Oh. And she, like, takes the far right one. And is quickly eating it. Like, she's, her big, you see that she has a very, almost crocodile-like dragonborn mouth.
Mm-hmm.
And she's taking very large bites out of it. And she says, "Oh, these are, these are fresh out of the market, aren't they?"
Yeah, I just got them. I was gonna take some to Tabernac.
Oh, he'd love these. Probably. I haven't met him.
Mm,
But who would?
He's nice. What's your name? I'm Irolahne.
I'm Saskia.
Saskia, that's a very beautiful name.
Thank you. I'm a druid student.
What's a druid?
Oh. You know, no one's ever asked me that question. Well, I'm in tune with, nature. And I can turn into animals, which is real useful sometimes. And sometimes it's not.
That's really cool. I can do none of that. She's almost about to blurt out that she can turn into an animal too.
Well, that's okay. Not everyone can be a druid. It's a very specific skill set. My back hurts.
You should probably go lay down.
Yeah, that's a good idea. But I'll remember this. Thank you.
You're
Irolahne.
welcome.
That was delicious.
I'm glad I could provide some joy for your day.
I'm dizzy.
Try to take it a little easy next time.
Okay. And she kind of stumbles into the keep.
She's gonna kind of chuckle about that for a moment, but then she's gonna head to the wizarding classroom.
Okay. You head to Tabernac's classroom. As you enter Tabernac's classroom, it is not empty. You see that there is a halfling seated at one of the tables. There is an elf near the tall globe that depicts the world, and he is making notes. And as you enter, the halfling looks up and says, "Oh, hello.
Hello.
I don't think I know you."
I just enrolled today.
"Oh, welcome. Are you a new wizard?" And as he says that, the elf looks up and says, "Another? You could always use another."
Not quite. I'm a sorcerer.
Oh. And the elf, like, dismisses you immediately. And
Oh.
the halfling is like, "Oh, don't listen to him. He's a jerk." That's fascinating. I wish I had magic born into me. I'd had to work for it instead. But what brings you up here? Aside
Um,
from wanting to be misjudged by some of us, and she says that to the elf, who just like dismisses with his hand.
well, I suppose working for it makes it more meaningful, doesn't it? Um,
Don't let him put you down. He's just he's an asshole. And the elf says, "Excuse me. I'll have you know I would have you tossed off your land for saying such a thing at home." And the halfling says, "Well, good thing we're not at home, are we?" And
uh, there's only two of them, right?
uh-huh.
She'd offer them, now that there's four, do you want a cake?
The elf looks over and says, "No, it's not my kind of thing." But the halfling says, "Absolutely! Oh my goodness, those smell amazing. I wondered what that smell was. Now that you've pointed it out, I can't believe I missed it." And she like hops up from the table, this tiny little halfling, and scuttles her way over to you. And she says, "Does it matter which one?"
No, they're all the same, I think.
This one looks rounder than the rest. So you can have that one." And she takes the slightly lumpier one. She
Thank
says,
you.
"Thank you so much. You're welcome anytime." And she like scuttles back over to the table. Half of the trolley cake is already eaten, and custard's just like down onto her cloak.
Where's Tabernac?
Oh, the mother's stage.
Okay, thank you. And
And she's stuffing more of the trolley cake in her mouth.
she'll head down to Tabernac.
Tabernac is, as she described, on his stage. And he looks up as you enter and he says, "Ah, good day. What can I do for you?"
Uh, I brought you some goodies, as they say.
Tabernac looks at you and he says, "It is a pleasure to meet you." And he, like, slowly winks with one eye.
It's a very big pleasure to meet you, Tabernac. She winks back. um,
Tabernac says, "What have we here? I do not believe I've partaken in a trolley cake in nearly a century."
she's gonna get on the stage. And how is he laying right now?
Catloaf.
Catloaf. Okay. She's going to climb up one of his arms, and she's going to sit right here in between his tricep and bicep. And she's going to offer him one.
And a magical hand picks up the trolley cake. And Tabernac holds it in front of his snout, and you just hear this. Exquisite. You
They're
did
fresh.
find the best in town, I believe, for it is here in front of me. And he bites the whole thing, and he says, "Thank you."
There's one more extra if you want, as she takes hers out and she enjoys.
It is delicious. It is sweet. The outside is a crispy crust, and it is delightfully soft on the inside until you reach the custard. It is texturally remarkable. I think, in your memory, it's the most delicious thing you've ever eaten.
I've never had something like this. This is amazing.
I think maybe you should reward yourself with the second one later.
If you don't want it, sure. It'd probably be cold by then. This is quite filling.
I must watch my figure. I
Oh,
hear
please.
you had a pleasant meeting with Emila today.
Oh, yeah, I was a little concerned. The way her picture looks, she looks really intimidating, but she was very welcoming.
She has seen a lot in her time, and she did unfortunately replace the previous sorcery instructor. But she does her job very well. And, unlike some wizards, I do not hold anything against a sorcerer for taking advantage what it is that they are born with.
I suppose you would know best.
Yes, yes, I would.
uh, I met the fighting teacher today. He's pretty abrasive.
Tabernacle does actually laugh at that, and he says, Irolahne is a gem in the rough. He is certainly abrasive, but he gets the job done marvelously.
I think I left a good impression on him and the bards today. Minus the fact that I'm a sorcerer and not a bard or a fighter, which seems to be a big disappointment around here.
Every instructor is excited about a new student. For you must understand, most students do not finish their course. Many quit, say the work is too rough, or they find their discipline lacking. Many of them believe once they get the basics, and they are supplied with the equipment from our selections room, they can make it on their own, without all of the training that we provide, which unfortunately is why there are so many bandits around Ferrum.
That actually brings up a good subject. What's the difference between an orc and a half-orc? There was a doomsayer, whatever they called them, out in town, and I met an I met an orc today. He didn't seem so nasty like the ones that this person was talking about. I thought he was quite nice, actually.
A half-orc is simply a person who has the heritage of orcish blood, whether it be from their mother, their father, their grandparents. It doesn't matter. The thing about orcish blood, if your ancestor is an orc, their blood tends to dominate that of whatever other heritage that you are. And so, if your mother was a human, if your grandmother was a human or an elf or what have you, you will be born a half-orc, which defines your features as orcish with tusks, generally green or gray skin, and a particular penchant for maybe a stout skeletal structure, potent muscle mass, these sorts of things. An orc, however, well, it depends. If an orc is born into a society such as ours, they can be just as civilized as you or me or Emil Adorn. If an orc is born into a raiding party, where they fight endlessly and strongest lead the pack, then they can be worthy of a fearmonger to spread foolish rumors about.
It seems a little unfair for those that don't do any wrong.
You are correct. Amaranth is a broad place, and while many places do not suffer the foolish notions of racism and fear just by who someone is, it is an unfortunate truth that orcish raiding camps, gnollish war parties, goblins that would live beneath a society and attack it, these do still occur. Most people can see beyond that. But as you get out into the outskirts or to the less populated locations, you will find fear and hatred runs freely. Do you understand?
She takes another bite of her trolley cake and she nods. Mm-hmm. I do understand, though it's just kind of unfortunate.
You don't know how right you are. Or maybe you do. You've had a difficult time in what you can remember, if I recall.
Well, I did bring back some sort of memory. It's kind of weird. Um, she'll set down her trolley cake on his arm because there's nowhere else to put it.
He kind of looks at it like...
In the box on his arm.
Okay. So you don't immediately make his arm sticky. Got it. Okay.
No. She'll pull out the violin that she got from the bards. I didn't know I could play the viol, until today, actually. And I guess like I said, I made a good impression because they all got really quiet and said I should come back.
Well, Tally Soothsinger is an unusual creature. And if you manage to impress her, she can be the best support a person could hope for. It is likely she saw you, maybe lacking a little in confidence in yourself, and then when you proved yourself truly remarkable, which you are, she got excited, and she wanted to reward you with encouragement, as is worthwhile. I would also say, to convince the bards to part with an instrument, you must truly have impressed them.
Well, when you don't have students here trying to do their lessons, I suppose maybe I can show you.
I am always welcoming a performance. I do trade in stories and conversation, if you remember.
I do remember. How could I forget?
Well, Irolahne, it sounds as though your first day has certainly been eventful.
It has. I should probably head to my dorm. Is it getting late?
Yeah, it's like dinner time right now.
Yeah. And I have to learn to sleep where it is not under your wing.
I am certain you shall do fine. I have faith in you, Irolahne. You've already proven me correct twice.
She'll pack up the box and she'll look like she's getting ready to go, and then she'll be like, Tabernac, really quick, when do you think you can teach me my breath weapon?
You already have it. You simply must believe that you have it.
I'll reflect on that.
Good. In that case, I will see you
Tomorrow. Take care, Tabernac.
Farewell, Irolahne. And as you begin to ascend the steps back up to the balcony where Callie Toothspring and Hallowell Halitheth are bickering, that is where we will end today's session.
Okay.
Thank you for playing with me. I hope you had a good time. And I'll see you all next time in From Nothing, Irolahne's story.